Alright guys, so I'm back at it, and I know a lot of y'all have been asking me about what free EA I use and the results and all that. And I'm sorry it took so long. I've just been really busy, as I'm sure you noticed in some of my videos or whatever. But let's get down to it. So I've been using a Macd Trader EA, and I think the guy that makes it is Muhammad Ali or something like that. You're not gonna get any help from him. He just posts them. But I really like his EAs. I've downloaded all of them, and I'm gonna, as you can see over here, Cat, Bollinger, Breakout, Ichimoku, Macd, RSI, Stochastic, Goldfinch. Uh, I've only tried the Bollinger for now because it was a strategy that I'm used to working with. But because on several other videos on YouTube, I heard that Macd actually has a really high return. I switched over to Macd, and it actually has been working great. At first, I had like 5 pairs running, and GU and AJ were giving me the best returns. So I just closed the rest out, and these are the two that I'm working on. So let me tell you how this one works and why I like it so much. I'm gonna go to expert properties just to give you a quick run through. So the Macd strategy. Uh, if you don't know how it works, I'm not gonna explain it. I'm just gonna explain how to set this up. You don't need to know how it works to be able to understand how to set this up. So what I do is I go to testing or whatever, scroll down, and I keep it at whatever I want to whatever I have on my account or whatever. Scroll over. So here's the good stuff. Okay. So when I first set this up, this is what I click on my optimizer. I click my Macd strategy type. I click the Macd time frame, and I'll explain more about that later. As you can see here, I go from the top to the bottom, and it's gonna go through each and every type. I really don't get into the 1 minute or the current. Don't do that. And that was a lesson hard learned or whatever. So I'll go from 5 minutes to 1 hour. Yeah, you can get higher than that, but this is my preferred time frames. Don't mess with the fast, slow, or the SMAs. Don't mess with the applied price. Levels, I'll probably get into that later, but for now I leave them alone. I've been messing around with them, but I haven't really gotten a full take on how to use them. Open trade after reset. Okay, this one doesn't really matter whether it's true or false. What means is and I usually leave it at false. Signal bars. All right, I use that one. I go from 0 to 6 on everything. Reverse signals, obviously, and I'll explain to you what that means in a bit and how it works. But technically, that means whether or not it's gonna if it's going down, if it keeps if it hits the Macd line, if it's gonna put a sell, or if it's going up as a buy, a strong long trend, if it's gonna keep buying. You get me? So that's technically what it means. Single side. Okay, if you're with a Wando or any US based, Canada based, with hedging, no hedging and no and FIFO requirements, you want to click any single side. You don't even want to mess with anything else. Long side, short side only, obvious if you already know the trend or if you want to figure the trend out yourself. And both sides, this means that if you're not under any FIFO or any hedging compliance, it will make both long and short open in both at the same time. Max spreads, I have that disabled. And if you want to get really detailed into it, you can put the current spread, or if for example, if there's certain close where the market closes, etc., you can put a max spread that you're comfortable with. I have it at 0 for now. Fixed lot size. Okay, so here's the thing. I do use a fixed lot size. So I keep mine at 0.1, but I'm gonna go ahead and click that when I first do it, and I do it from 0.1, every 0.1 all the way to 1. I don't like going past a 1 lot size for my first lot, and I'll explain that later as well. So that's what I do. You can also, and this is what I like so much about this free EA, is that there's so many different ways. There's also lots based on X balance, on your balance. And this is the other stuff. You're going to use 100% of your balance, other stuff like that. I've been having good luck with the fixed lot size. I have tried it other ways, and usually around 1 is the max. I usually disable max lots, but I keep it at 1 for now. We'll check more on that later. Trade commission per lots. My commission is like, I forgot what amount, but I do have with the window. I'm a little bit on the where they charge me commission per every trade, opening and closing. A lot of y'all might not even be in that yet, so I'm not going to talk about it. Max daily per trade, max daily trade per pair, and I do, oh no, I don't do that one. I do it down here. Trend filter, obviously. Go ahead and click on, same thing. Start at the top, and it's going to go through each and every option all the way to the bottom. I'm not actually going to wait for it to finish because it takes a long time. For now, we're not going to do the grid trades. That's for later, and I'll explain it towards the end of this video. Just turn that off, put 0, disable it. We're not going to do grid trades yet. And this, I'm just showing you how I've been using it. And I'll explain it in the grid section. I keep my profit 0. I keep my stop loss 0. I keep all this stuff 0. Everything 0. And I'll explain why later. But for now, we're just going through, and this is why I like this one so much, because it has so many options. I'm just going to turn this off for now too, because we're not using it for the first calibration. False on break start, false on trailing. And this is why I like it so much, is, where is it at? Is because of, where you at? On the grid. Okay. This is my favorite part right here. Close trade on opposite signal. Have you ever noticed that it goes and goes, but you're not sure when it's going to hit the stop loss or when the trade is going to turn? This is what I'm talking about. When there's an opposite signal, meaning that according to the Macd strategy, it's going to start turning, right? It's going to start, either if it's going long, it's going to start going short or whatever. It shows a signal going into the opposite direction, and it'll automatically close the trade and open up in the opposite direction based on the Macd strategy. So this is a natural way of not missing any opportunities. And this is what I've been using. That way I'm not too stressed out about whether I'm missing it, whether my stop losses are perfect. What if it's a stop loss but it missed an opportunity to follow the downtrend, and there goes missed money? Yeah, you are gonna end up losing a bit, sometimes a couple hundred. In my experience, if I'm using 0.1 lot sizes, at 1 lot size, I miss out on a couple $100. On 0.1, you miss out on a couple 40, 20 or 40. But the point is, I use it as a natural filter so that I don't miss out on opportunities on big trends. So it would naturally close it if it shows the opposite signal. Like if it's going on long, it'll naturally close it if it shows a short trend about to start. And there is a downside to it, and that means that if it's a non-trending market, you'll see a whole bunch of opens and closes, and that's the most annoying thing. But honestly, in the long run, it'll follow the trend and you'll make up your losses. So this is what I'm using. This is why I don't do take profits. This is why I don't do stop losses, because I have this on and it just follows the Macd strategy up and down naturally. You can, but I don't. There's a minimum profit for the opposite trade. So if you want a minimum profit before it switches, you can actually turn that on and find out the best. I do not use it because normally I've noticed that it actually lowers my 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 profit, whatever number. Um, Lot type for grid, I leave that at multiple, and I'll go through that later. But let's just focus on the starting calibration, and then we'll get into the break evens, trailing stops, or whatever. I haven't used this, and for Oanda, it doesn't let it download these stop times, but you might have better luck. And this is also a really great option to have. Actually, I do use it. I was talking about this, the filter news time. Okay, so this is another great thing that people have been asking for the FX Trader, the other EA. It automatically comes with it. For free, you're getting a lot of options. So you can either turn on the Asian time, trade an entire Asian session or not. I keep that on. Money's money, even if it's a little bit. So this is another great thing about this EA is that you can set your times to be used, whether Asian, Europe, or American sessions. What hours you want it to be working. If it's switching between sessions, and for example, in my time, between 4 and 5:30, I want to even say 6. There's a lot of volatility, so I can actually put the amount of set those times off of my tradings. You get me? Turn that off in those high volatility hours. So this is a great thing. You can enable news events. I tried it and it doesn't work with my Oanda. It doesn't let it download it. It might be something I need to download on my actual NT4 so I can allow it to use those things. It might even be, well, we'll figure that out later. But right now I'm not using it. Slippage. There is a certain amount of slippage. You can go onto the Oanda website and find out how much slippage it has. And there's an actual web page that tells you the average slippage each and every broker has, and you can just pop that number in there. The magic number, if you don't know what a magic number is the number that it adds to all the trades to know what to track. Okay, so, and I messed this up a couple times even knowing these two have different magic numbers. Okay, and I usually just change the last number. Right now it's 72 54 30 98 72. I keep that on 1, and I change my odd JPY one, Australia, Japan, I think, to a different magic number. That way each one, if you put the same magic number for each pair, it'll just go haywire and it will start trying to run all of them on the same trades, on the same information. You don't want that. For every pair you open, you want a different magic number, and usually I just change the last number on there just to not keep it complicated or whatever. Keep it simple, just to keep it simple. So remember, change the magic number for every pair that you have this EA working on. You do not want it to work with a negative balance. But man, for all this stuff here, actually, you do want it to work with a negative balance. Sorry about that. That's just, it keeps track. It keeps track of all your trading. So right now it's working with a positive balance. Is how much money I made. If it goes negative, it'll even show your negative trade. So keep that on true. Sorry about that. Okay, and that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and, very important guys, keep it on M1. Okay, this EA is pretty advanced. So on this time frame, it keeps track of its own 5 minutes up to an hour or whatever. It keeps track of its own information. So if you have it, I have this one set at 1 hour time frame because that's where it made the most money in this. But I keep my period at M1, so it keeps track of all the ticks M1 on the M1 time frame. It keeps track of it, and over here it does its own calculations to put it on a 1 hour time frame. It's the same thing. You want to always keep this on the M1, and the EA itself changes the time frame for you, so it has its own tracker. I don't know if I made myself clear about that, or if I'm being a little bit on. Even if it shows 1 hour here, don't change it to 1 hour down here. Keep it on M1. This is like a tick tracker for the trader. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn my optimization on. I don't use my dates. That's only to see if I'm losing money overall, but this is keeping track for me. And go ahead and start. Boom. So while this is running a couple of junk, let me show you. So today's profit, I've already made $242. I have an open trade for 108, and this week I've made $409 on this. And this is running on zero point 0.2 lot sizes, so it's not bad. AJ, I'm running 0.1 lot sizes. Current profit is I have an open trade at 4, several open trades, 1, 2, and it's making $4 so far. Today I made 50. This week I made 87. So it's a smaller lot size. Today is made 4 trades, and I like it because it has all your numbers there. You don't have to like scroll through your history or whatever to find that out. This one was only made 1 trade today. Okay, so here we go. Optimization results. I'm just going to explain to you what I look for to find the best one. So profit factor, you usually want to keep it above 2, but I try to stay at the 4s for this first calibration. I find the 4s, and I just completely ignore anything under, let's say, 3, and anything over, let's say, 5. I want to get around that range, the 4 range. And what I'm looking for is you don't want to just focus on the profit factor. Yeah, you can, like profit factors focuses more on the best possible circumstance for previous trades. And we want to look for the average. Okay, so let me go through this. Profit versus, this first thing I look for, profit versus drawdown. I don't want to be spending almost $3,000 or watching $3,000 worth of money moving around just to make 1,600 worth. That's too much stress for me. Expected payoff, that's one of the last things I look into. But the profit factor is one of the first. Total trades is very important to me. I usually want to keep it between 30 trades in a period of a month, 1 trade a day, or even 1 trade every 2 days, or 15, 16 trades a month, just for this first calibration, guys. Drawdown, you want to keep that under 20%. The lower, the better. Okay, so it's going to keep going through. Profit factor, see, this is one of the ones I'm talking about. It shows a really high profit factor, but that's the thing, is that based on these settings, you might say that they're perfectly calibrated from previous data. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be perfect for future data, so just be careful on that. Just keep it around the 4 on the first calibrations. Okay, as you can see here, it shows 1,822 for the drawdown and 3,800. So you'll be seeing the movement between the highs and the lows, highs and lows at a difference of 1,800. But overall, it's going to give you 3,000. This number right here, guys, that's how much number you should expect to lose. Okay, you will see about this much money like just dropping off your account. This and I'll show you how to mitigate that later. As you can see, this is on a lot size of 0.6. Okay, this is why I ended up lowering my lot size, because I just saw 1,000. Not in a row, but I kept seeing like 1,000 in losses, and when I start seeing that, I panic. So based on your character, if you have a strong character and you know eventually, and you have a trust in the EA that you're gonna get your money back, go ahead, man, do that. Just because you're looking at a good profit rating, but for my drawdown, I like to keep it in the 500s, and even as low as I can, and that's natural. Over here, you got a 9.01 profit factor, a drawdown of 7, and a profit of 1,799. That's great, man. That's really good. But like I said before, this is a really good calibration for previous data. So I'm waiting for a 4 profit factor to pop up. And you really want to wait until it's all done, and I can't stress this enough. You might see a really good one, and you might think, "Oh, this is perfect." No, man, wait until it finishes, because there's a good chance that an even better one will pop up. So let's say, for now, that you find a perfect one. Let's say this 1.3. You don't want 1.3, obviously, but all you have to do is right click on set input parameters, and it'll put all these settings in for you, so you don't have to write them down and then copy them onto your trader, your expert properties. Okay. So like I said before, it's sooner or later a profit factor of 4 will pop up. You're going to look at the total trades. You want to keep them at 30 and below, between 15 and 30 for this first calibration. And you want to keep the drawdown as low as possible, the drawdown percentage as low as possible, under 20%. Okay, under 20% minimum. The drawdown number is, find a number that you're comfortable with. For me, it's between 0 and let's say 500. If there's a really good opportunity to trade and I see like a 600, but I see this number over here at 4,000, obviously I think that's good. That's a good risk. So I'm just gonna put a stop to this for now, and we're gonna move on to the next part. Okay. So once you get a really good number between 4, you see a nice healthy drawdown that you're comfortable losing, and a good amount of profit, and average. See right here, for example, 275 trades, guys. You don't want crazy amount of trades like that. You're just gonna stress yourself out too much, and you don't want like 9 trades in a month either. You don't want 0 trades in a month. You don't want 11 trades in a month. That's too low for me. 154, that's too many trades for me. I want to keep it at a nice healthy trading level, not too much movement. That way I can watch it, and I'm not over here looking at open close open close open close. I want to get a nice healthy trade going in, one nice healthy trade in a per day, or one good healthy trade in every 2 days. That's my personal preference. And you might have your own personal preference. I'm just trying to explain what I do. Expected payoff. This is the expected payoff is what I look for when I have a whole bunch in a row that are between 4 and 5 or 3 and 5. I do compare them. I check them out and I compare them to each other. Obviously, you want a higher payoff with the least amount of drawdown. All right. So once you have your settings that you're comfortable with, just right click and put set and click on set input parameters, and it'll automatically set it for your, move it over to your expert properties. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put a stop. So it'll set your signal bars. In this case, mine was 6. Reverse signal was true. It was on a 1 hour time frame. It was a histogram above or below my level. And what I do is I just go on here, I unclick them. You do want to run these settings first. So as soon as you put set input parameters, it'll uncheck this optimization for you, and go ahead and put start and run it one time just to verify that everything's working correctly. The numbers sometimes change. Once you got that, the next thing I do is I know that all my stuff is working. My lot sizes, it'll calculate all that for me. Next thing I do is I go down here and I do a break, start, and step. I used to do trailing starts, but not anymore, because technically the Mac trader, by automatically closing the trade, is doing a really good trailing stop for me. You know, it'll naturally follow it up, and as soon as it switches, it'll close it. And I've noticed that with my trailing on, it actually lowers my profit, and I want my profit factor to be high. You get me? So on this case, I turned all that off, and I'm going to go ahead and do this for you. I'm going to run my settings for you. So we have a basis. All right, it's going to run it real quick. And you can see 2 open trades on this one. One here and one here. And this is for that grid loss trading. This guy that Macd EA does come out with a paid one where you can do the profit grid pattern. This is a loss grid pattern. As I start losing money, it'll actually open up more trades to try to recoup that. And this is, I do like this about it, and I was doing it wrong before. Let's say it opens up a lot size of 0.1, and as I start going into my negatives, it'll open up smaller lot sizes, and I don't do that anymore. I actually open up bigger lot sizes as it goes more into the negative. That way it requires less movement into my positive to recoup all that, and then it'll automatically close it close all my grid patterns in as soon as it hits profit. And I'll explain more into that later. It should have already finished. Oh, this isn't it. I should have already ran it. So that I do like that about it. I used to run it without my grid because I've read comments that it it exaggerates my profit ratings. But I've been using the grid lately, and it's actually been really good to me. Even if it goes negative, if it even goes up a little bit, it'll just close it off. It close all my negatives and with one good trade, and it'll end up with profit. There it is. Okay, so without just by working itself naturally, just it goes up. It notices a opposite signal for the opposite trade, and it closes it and it opens up in the opposite trade. Just naturally, I have a profit factor of 5.23. When I set this up, it was a profit factor of like 4. So this week has actually been better than previous data when I was setting it up. 16 total trades, like I said before. I do like between 15 and 30 trades. So right now it's been opening up a trade every. Oh no, not right now, but it's been opening up a trade this last month. A trade every 2 days, about. With a drawdown of $128, I'm comfortable losing $100, guys, in order to get a return of 500. That's fine for me. Consecutive wins 2, consecutive losses 1. You do want to keep this as low as possible, between 1 and 2, between 0 and 2 actually. Consecutive wins as high as possible. Maximal drawdown. This was my highest drawdown. 236. My highest loss was $67. My average loss was $19. My highest profit was $500. My average profit trade was $78. So what this does is I don't click on this because just by doing it naturally, it actually does the last 2 months or the last month by itself, because that's how much information it stores. Now that I have my base, my 5.23 profit factor base, I'm going to go to my expert properties and go on to my next one. What I generally do now is I scroll down and I go to my break even. Like I said before, I've done my trailing and it's actually lowered my profit factor. I don't do that no more. I've understood that it naturally does its own trailing stop because of the way it's set up with the in case you forgot, with this one right here, close trade on opposite signal. It just naturally does it. So I'll go to my break even. What this break even does, and hopefully all of y'all know this already, it sets up and I go ahead and click on it, sets up the stop loss as soon as it hits profit. If it passes it by 200 points, and I want to verify this, it's points, not pips. This works on points, guys. So it goes up 200 points and it puts a step at 5. Okay? Or in this case, it goes up 300 and it puts a step at 115. And I set it up, and you can start it at 0. I started mine at 200, and it'll check it every 5 points all the way to 300. Same thing over here, 5 with 5 steps all the way to 300. And that's my next step right there, guys. So I'm going to put OK. Optimize, start, and what I want is I want a higher profit factor, and I want lower drawdown and higher profit. That's what I'm looking for. Because without it, I did notice that it would go up. Let's say, for example, right here. Let's say it opens one right here. It'll go up, and out of nowhere it'll drop. And then it'll show an opposite trade, and it'll close it, open up an opposite trade signal, and I would end up losing money. So I'd rather just close it. It'll keep going down and open up a trade signal over here. That way I don't lose the money that I see I don't lose it in negative. Here we go. 2.6 is profit factor. By itself, it would have been good, but because I now have a profit factor to base it off of, I know that it's not good enough for me. So let me just, at a break start of 295 and a break step of 190. There is negatives. You do not want negatives. You don't want it to break start at 100 and open up a break step at 190. You don't want that. You want it all positive. And on this one, as long as the profit factor is higher than before, I'm good. Expected payoff, whenever you're comparing them, choose the higher expected payoff. Right here, 4.5. If this was my beforehand, this would pop up on my radar right here. Draw down 240 just to get 557. I wouldn't be too okay with that because look at the number of trades. It's a really high number of trades. So what I'm looking for is a higher profit factor. I'm looking for a lower drawdown and a higher profit. But I'm mostly focused on this lower drawdown number. As you can see now, most of my drawdown percentages is way under 20%. At this point, you don't really want to look in, you don't really have to look into a drawdown because the initial calibration with the initial settings are taking care of that. And you can just keep comparing off of your test that you ran before you started the second calibration. My net profit was 572. So up until now, it's been lower. You want more, right? You always want more. You want the best possible situation. And once you find a good one, just go ahead and right click and set the input parameters. Boom. And we can move on to the next step. All right, so we're looking for a higher profit factor. We're looking for a lower drawdown and a higher overall profit. Okay, these trades, obviously, this will be very important to look at. You don't want too many trades, like 43 trades. I don't want that, man. I don't want that. It's 1.5 trades a day. It's a lot of movement for me, and based on my own character, it's not something I like seeing. If you're more patient than I am, yeah, go ahead, man. So let's say you find a good one, and let's say you find a good one at like 5.30 or whatever. It's at this point, it's fine. You already did the initial profit factor. At this point, it's fine to just right click and put set input parameters because it's giving you better results. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this now that I've shown it to you. And because I already have the settings here. In this situation, my break step start was at 3:30. My break step was at 1:15. You do not want a really low break start. Okay, you want it to actually get into the trend before it puts a break start and a break step, before it puts a stop loss. I noticed that above 200 was good for me, and that's what I went with. So these are my settings. I already have them. I'm good. You can do the same thing with the trailing start and stop with the trailing. A lot of people like the trailing. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But I've noticed that in this situation, again, with my close trades and opposite close, it was actually giving me worse profit factors. This is This is a natural trailing start and step. And it'll automatically open up a new trade so you never lose a chance for profit. After this, I move on to my grid. I did try running my stop loss and my take profit, but they both, like I said, they both ended up with negatives. You can put it in just for your extra safety. And I'll talk about total equity profit later when I get into the grids. Yeah, I'll talk about that later when I get into the grids. It's good. I did do loss in currency at one point, but I'm not sure if it's profit and currency after. I did do this one at one point, and I'm not really sure about that. But total equity profit, this is for my grids. So let's set up the grids now. How this grid works, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and put max grid trades. I'm gonna keep it at a fixed distance. I'm gonna do the grid gaps. And what this means is that if it goes down between 20 and 600, depending on this case it's 220. If it goes down 220 points, not pips, points, it'll set up a another trade, as in this point right here. It had an order down here or up here, and it dropped 220 pips, and it opened up another trade in the same direction to try to recoup its loss. In this case, grid trade only in signal, and I think I clicked on that and it ended up false. Grid trade only in new candle, true. Close trade opposite signal, true. Lot type, keep it on multiple, and I do above 1 and less than 2. And what happened was, for example, it set up a buy and it went negative. It shorted on me. It dropped to 220 and it opened up another trade smaller than my opening lot size. So let's say I open it up at 0.1 lot size. This other one would open it up at 0.08 or whatever. And the problem with that was, and then it dropped another 220 and it opened up an even smaller lot size, let's say 0.05. The problem was that it would go up a little bit, and it would actually have to go up a lot higher for it to recoup its losses. So I did notice that if I do it above the original lot size, so 1.1 and above, all the way up to 2, it would actually open up bigger lot sizes as it goes into the negatives. So what this does for me is that it only needs to go up a little bit, and let me show it to you. Watch this. Okay, here we go. So it started a sell at 0.1. It dropped 220 points. It opened up another sell at 0.17. As you can see, it has not passed the first sell yet, but now it can close both of them and I'll end up with a profit. And this works out a lot better than with negatives, because a lot of times it won't even make it to the first order that you opened, and it will close 2, 3, 4 orders all in negatives. In this way, even if it moves up a little bit, I can recoup my losses with a higher secondary, tertiary grid trade. And if you have questions, just post it on the comments. I'm usually good about replying. So let's get back to this. Let me go to optimization reports. Well, I think I closed that already, right? Yeah. Let me go back to my expert properties. Scroll down. So that's why I keep it above 1. If you keep it under 1, let's say 1 and you go down, or you start at 0 and you go up to 1, it'll open up smaller lot sizes as you go into the negatives. I've tried it and it didn't work out for me. I'd rather open up bigger lot sizes as I go into negatives. That way it takes less amount of movement to recoup my losses, and then it'll close it. And this is my next step that I'm talking about. So go ahead and click on multiple lots. And I'm going to scroll down. I haven't really checked into any of this, and because it's working fine for me, I'm not going to. And this is now where I put total equity profit. Okay, so this is what I mean. It's going to go negative, negative, negative. For me, it's 3 times, and it'll open up 3 separate accounts. So it starts at 0.1, it'll go negative 220, it'll open up another one at 0.17, go another negative 220, it'll open up at negative 30, negative 0.3 or whatever. So it'll go higher as it goes more negative. As soon as it goes up a certain amount, it's going to close with a total equity profit. So including all my open trades it'll close in profit when it hits a certain number. So this is very important, guys, because as you know, sometimes it doesn't catch a downward trend and you end up losing money before it closes it. This happened to me a lot with Macd Trader. So this is my solution: is as soon as it hits a certain amount of money in profit, even if my other two first trades are open in negative, as long as my last trade gives me enough profit, it'll close all of them. And that's my my hedging, or what you want to, however you want to call it. That's how I try to recoup and save the situation, so that all three of them don't close in negative and I lose more money. So this is very important on a grid trade. And I'm gonna put OK. Oh wait, it looks like I did not turn off my break start and step. Let me go ahead and turn that off. And just with these 3 steps, guys, I ended up calibrating my my trader. And this is all free, man. For being free, it gives you all the options I could ever want, you know. Oh man, I forgot. I'm gonna go ahead and put a stop. Scroll up. And I forgot to run it on my break start and step. Boom. I'm gonna run it just on these numbers. And 0. Okay. That way I can have an updated report on how much my profit is coming out to be. So these are last settings. So my report might actually show a lower profit factor. But these settings are still working for me, and I'm fine with how much money they're giving me. Let's look at these results. It went up. It hit the break start, and it gave me a profit of 9. Here's a negative one. Here's a good one that it closed on the opposite signal. So it opened up a buy, modified it with a break stop loss, and it finally closed it when as soon as it saw that it was a change in direction. Then it opened up a sell, modified it, and there was a stop loss. And it just did that several times. So it all looks good to me. Let me go to my report. So my profit factor went down. When you're actually calibrating it, you want a higher profit factor. But that's still good enough for me. So now that you know the current profit factor with my break start and step, go up here. And I think I'm going to recalibrate it soon, just not today. And go to my grids, max grid, enable it, 0 to 5. Grid gaps, enable it, 0 to 600. Trade only in signal, check. New candle, obviously. Close trade on opposite, obviously. You can run this one if you want. That way none of them close in. There's a minimum amount of profit you get every time. I noticed that it did lower my profit factor for that one. Multiple, correct. Multiple lots, correct. From 1.1 to 2. On this case, it went up to 1.7, and that was the best one. And I'm not sure about add lots for grid. And total equity profit, check. And I did put 375, but I think that's because I was saving the number because I was doing something else. I'm not gonna do it this time because I already have everything saved. So I'm gonna go like that: 0, 25 steps all the way up to 1,000. Correct. I'm gonna go ahead and optimize, and then I'll explain it to you. I'm gonna choose one of them, and then I'll go through the results and explain to you the results. Let's check this one out right here while it's doing that. Let me go to forgot it, full frame. F11, I think. View. Full screen. F11. All right. This is a sell. So it was expecting it to go down. It did. This was a sell. Okay, this was the first one. It opened up a sell at 0.1 lot size. Okay, let me see if I can move this so you can see. No, you can't. Okay, it opened up a sell at a 0.1 lot size, expecting it for it to drop to short. It did not. It actually went up. Okay, and it went negative, 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 negative. At 0.1, the loss isn't even that much for me. And finally, it hit a 220 difference on my grid pattern. It opened up another one for 0.17, so it's actually higher. Now it takes less than half the movement to give me profit. And if at that point it chooses to close it, it'll close it in an overall profit. Okay, an overall profit. Even if it closes here, even if this one results in a loss, this one makes up for it. And that's what I like about having a higher loss grid pattern than a reducing loss grid pattern. You get me? So instead of it opening up another one at 0.08, it actually opened it up at a higher lot size than the initial lot size of 0.1. That way there's less movement. If at this point it decided to just show an opposite signal and close it here, I'm still going to end up closing in profit. The total equity profit option that you saw is that if it opened up another one, if it went negative 440, it'll open up one more in my case at like a 0.20 or 0.30 lot size to give it one last chance to move up and make up for the overall equity. It can do it here too, but there's a minimum amount of equity that I want. As soon as it hits it, it'll close all three of them, because at that point I already know that it's going into the opposite direction, even though it's not actually catching it. So let me go ahead and get out of this, and let's see how our optimizer is doing. Here we go. So we do want a higher profit factor than 3.44. So at this point, it'll do a losing grid pattern up to 5 times, just as an example for this one. Up to 5 times. So it'll move negative, 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 and it'll keep on opening up trades in the initial direction of your first trade up to 5 times. If in this case, if there is no opposite signal, it can happen. Okay. In this case, it wasn't so good, but it'll with the gaps of 420. So at this point, I don't even know how often that happens, but it opens up 76 trades. And as you can see, there was a total equity profit of 75. So apparently it did do it. As soon as it got $75 in total equity profit, it closed them all. I like around 3. 3 is a good number for me. Up to 3. 4, not so much. And in this point, I do keep it on the 200s. At one point I had it at I think a 20 gap, and it opened them up consecutively, and I did not like that at all. I felt that I could have done better, and for me, my comfort zone is around 200. You obviously don't want to pay off of $6 overall, even though it gives you a good overall profit or whatever. I don't like it. See this drawdown? If the drawdown is higher than the actual profit, I do not like that either. I'm waiting for a good one. That way I can click on it. But for now, you find a good one. You find it higher than your actual profit factor, because you want it to be better, not worse every time you make changes, right? You want to keep paying attention to these total trades. So once you find a good one, go ahead and right click and do the set input parameters, it'll automatically move it to your expert settings, expert properties. As soon as you start looking at these numbers, you'll start noticing that you're looking for a certain number of trades, a certain number of gaps, a certain number of numbers that you're looking for. So pay attention to what your heart is telling you when you're looking. When I first started looking, I saw a Max Greater Trader 4, and I automatically just noticed that I was looking for around 3. So I just changed my max grid to 3. If you don't feel comfortable with a certain number, 5 or whatever, or a certain gap, I do not want a movement of 420 points before it makes another one. At that point, I just I wanted less. I felt that was too much, and I moved over to the 200s. I'm fine with 200s. 560, that was too much for me, especially if, for example, 5 trades at a gap of 420, that was way too much. That was already in the thousands by the time I made the 5th one. You know, that was something I was not comfortable with. So if you're calibrating it yourself, you'll understand. You'll automatically start looking for things that you are comfortable with. Okay, so my report shows a 3.4. So right here, 3.39. No, man, I was hoping that was 1.0. That way it could have moved on. But let me go ahead and put a stop here because I already have my properties here. I'm going to go ahead and load it because this is the last step and I don't want to screw up. And this was, what was this, guys? AJ or G? AJ. Correct. Come on. There it is. We'll go ahead and load AJ, which are my current settings. I'm not gonna give you all my current settings, guys. I don't want to suffer losses on my account. Okay, I loaded it. And these are my final settings. I'm gonna put OK. In here, I ended up with total grid of 3. It'll go negative up to 3 times and place trades up to 3 times with grid gaps of 220. So up to 246, 660 points negative before it places its last trade. In this occasion, it shows false. So even if it's showing the opposite signal, it'll still do it. And my lot sizes would be 0.7. I'm going to go ahead and run it so I can show you the final results. I look at the results a lot. Okay, here we go. It opened up a buy at 0.1 and it went negative. It went negative. It opened up another at 0.17 and the last one. In this case, all of them closed in negative. And it moved on to the next one. And this is an example right here, okay? It opened up a sell. Boom, 1 went negative. Boom, 2 negative. Boom, 3 negative. Each one was higher than the first. And then it modified them. This modification was obviously the break, start and step, so I don't keep losing money. Boom, 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 1 for each one at the same stop loss number. And then finally, it closed. You can see that my first one closed in negative, but my other ones closed in positive, which made up for that negative. And this is what I like. I like seeing this. I ended up making a profit right there. Another example right here, 789. It opened up 3 at 7, at 8, and at 9. It ended up closing, and it mitigated my losses. So I only lost maybe 16 bucks. Over here, it did the same thing. It opened up 2 buys, so it didn't go negative too much. At 0.1, at 0.17, modified them with a stop loss, a positive stop loss, and it finally closed out at 170 profit. This is with a 0.1 and a 0.17 lot size, so that's a good number for me. Another one right here, it opened up a sell, modified it, and closed it. So this was a 1 single trade. I'm liking that. So far the Macd EA is doing a good job. This one again sold negative $10, and this is why I like a smaller beginning lot size, because it can go up by itself with a good amount of profit, $375 before it closes. And it also mitigates it when it goes negative. Here's an example of it going negative and closing both in positive right here. Boom. Open up at 1, open up another on 0.17 because it went negative 220. Modified it with a stop loss, and it closed both of them with a really good profit. Buy, 0.1, 0.17, 0.29, modified them to with a break stop loss, and it closed them. Boom. All three. Now let's see. Oh, here's a good example of why I like doing this too. Open up the first one at 0.1, and obviously right here it never actually recouped. It never went back up to cover that stop loss. So what it did was, as it went lower, it opened up higher, and now it doesn't have to move up as much, and it will close it all in overall profit. This is what I like. At first I had my negative, so it would go 0.1 and it would go smaller than a 0.1, like 0.8 and then a 0.6. It never went up as high to recoup that, so all of them ended up in negatives. Man, I didn't like that. I ended up losing overall. This one wins overall, so this is why I like it higher. So yes, it's good, and it went back up. So the grid pattern does actually end up with a higher profit factor. If you want to run your break, start, and stops at the same time as you run your grid settings, it'll take longer, and you'll have a bit more patience, but I like how that works. The more things you run together, the more it can harmonize them, and I do like that. It obviously opened up more trades, and that's because you are at a higher grid pattern. The grid pattern opens up various trades. So at this point, once you set into your grid pattern, don't worry too much about the total trades, because obviously it's going to have more trades, up to 3 times the amount of trades, you know. So as long as you have check this out, consecutive wins 3, consecutive losses 0. Obviously the 3 is from the grid pattern. Consecutive profit, my maximum consecutive profit is 1,000. My maximum consecutive losses is 260. So take a look at this. I explained it. Open up several in your demo account. I cannot stress this enough. The way Macd works is, it includes it's usually how many people are running Macd trading pattern on certain pairs. On other pairs, you got Bollinger that more people are using for that particular pair, so it will have a higher profit rating than if you use Macd on it. On others, Ichimoku wins. So make sure you run several pairs with Macd, and only choose the winning ones, because that's the ones most people are using Macd for. You want to go with the people, not against them. Okay, you don't want to reinvent the wheel here. If a lot of people are using Macd on AJ, then use Macd on AJ. Some in other cases, ERCAD is Bollinger Bands. People are using the Bollinger Band strategy on ERCAD, and the people are the ones that rule. You get me? You don't want to use Macd when most people are using Bollinger Bands to trade with. You're gonna lose. So my next one, I'm gonna try out Bollinger Bands on my demo account. I'm gonna try Stochastic. I've heard good things about Stochastic. This is a scalper that the same guy makes. But for now, I'm been getting good profit on Macd, and I think I'm gonna continue to get good profit on Macd. And if you have a certain strategy you want me to test out, and there's a free EA for it, I'll try to find a free EA for it. I'll try to set it up. But so far, man, these cap ones, this guy makes a paid version that uses all these strategies for you. So you only need to download one expert advisor, and you'll get all these strategies for free. And the cool thing is that as you notice, there's a negative grid pattern. There's also a positive grid pattern. So as it goes up, it'll open up more trades to get more profit from that trend. And that's a paid version. I think it's like $30. It might be worth it, but right now I'm testing out free ones to make up the money loss from my FX one, Galileo FX one. So there you have it, guys. That's what I've been using. Have a good one.